Hanging around to hear me talk about making the budgets bang, which was a title which started as a joke, as I think all good presentations do. And this is sort of a 20-minute masterclass in making your budgets bang, which I will explain in due course. And I just really ask before I start that you take away everything in your head of what you think you know about production, because I think production can sound boring. It sounds dry. No one likes talking about money, scheduling, duty of care, sustainability. I'm going to talk about all of those things, but I really hope that you will stick with me. And I think more than ever in our digital world, these elements are so important. So just to humour me with a very juicy introduction about who I am. My name is Bryony Hopkins. I'm the head of production at Strongwatch Studios. We are a digital production company that is backed by Hat-Trick, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. They make Have I Got News For You, Dairy Girls, among other shows. And I have started my career in TV, specifically BBC News, well actually specifically BBC Weather, but I won't share that story today. Where I was making content for news, so getting stuff out in a really short time frame, which is incredibly relevant for our digital world. I then moved to BBC Three, where I was making documentary for youth audiences, hard factual covering topics like domestic abuse, suicide, chronic illness, disability, and then I did the pivot to the dark side and went to commercial, where I joined LadBible. There I ran some award-winning campaigns for Disney+, Durex, Wrigley's, amongst many others. I also then joined the originals team, which is where I met Tom Goldsman and Ben Powell-Jones, who I think you'll be hearing from later, the co-founders of Strongwatch Studios, before moving to Cowshed, where I oversaw the production for Locked In, which is Footasylum's answer to Big Brother. And I also wrote the budget for The Sidemen's Inside. So there have been many different types of productions, which is why I hope I'm somewhat qualified to talk to you about how to make your budgets bang. So at Strongwatch Studios, we have been, we're in our second year of business, and we are making stuff for all facets of the digital world. So just a small slate of some of our past and present clients. So we are very familiar with delivering to the broadcasters, so ITV, Channel 4, BBC, but also we do a lot of stuff straight to brands. So Shark Ninja, Superdrug, Pedigree Chum, just amongst a few. And then another really large part of our business, which I will be sort of digging into a bit more later, is our original strand. So we have a channel called People Are Deep. We find amazing stories of people from all walks of life, and we post them on our channel, which we launched 4 months ago. And in this process, we have been putting our own money forward to make a channel work. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we've kind of really led with production on that, because obviously we have had to make every penny count. So before I sort of dig into how we actually make the budgets back, I just wanted to kind of give you an example of one client that we are working with at the moment where we've really led with a production approach. So we are working for Shark Ninja. We're currently delivering 200 deliverables a month across 2 different markets, Middle East and Nordics. 3 brands, lifestyle, beauty, and food. Very different content there. And also working in 5 different languages. So I'm just going to show you a very quick one. So the content, as you can see, is very fast-paced. We are producing 200 of these across different brands and across different languages. And the way that we have managed to do this with the money that has been available to us is because we have really pushed the making the budgets bang. I'm really going with this as a strapline. How to make this a sustainable production model and making sure that we are utilising our staff, utilising the shoot days, how much we're shooting in a day, and what we have managed to create in what is currently a 3-month contract. In 2 months, we are churning out this content faster than actually we even imagined. So that is just one example of how if you're leading with production, you can deliver so much more for your client. So why does production matter? I am on a one-woman mission to make production cool. I think we talk a lot about the creative, rightly so. It is one of the most important things. We talk a lot about revenue streams. We talk a lot about IP and ownership. We don't talk that much about how you actually make the thing, and that is so, so important. And it's more important now more than ever, not just with the backdrop of where the TV industry is, but in our world, in the digital world. I'm going to say a bunch of things which I'm sure you're all familiar with, but we have less money than ever before. We have less time than ever before. I mean, I have ran many productions where I've signed the contract and 2 weeks later we're on the shoot and 2 weeks later we're delivering it. Multiple episodes, multiple deliverables. And I think, again, that is just part and parcel of delivering in our fast-paced landscape. But the bigger and better creatives, the expectation for what we're making hasn't gone down. We still are wanting the best possible videos, the best possible creatives. We're competing with everyone on the internet. And so our budgets are smaller, but the expectations are ever rising. And so that naturally creates quite a push and pull that we do ultimately need to find an answer to through our production processes. And then not to mention a few other things on top of that. We are in a position where the TV industry has struggled. There are a lot of freelancers that are out of work. Some of them have even left the industry. We are looking at increased talent fees. I think, obviously, the talent is the most important thing. They are often the people that's getting you to that piece of content, but ultimately, I think we have to acknowledge that that is also often comes at a large percentage of the production budget. Sustainability, I mean, we all know where we are in the planet, and I think ultimately TV has worked really hard to instill Albert, which is an amazing thing, but also inherently is expensive to be able to instill some of those protocols. And duty of care, I mean, I don't think I need to sort of mention how that has transpired in lots of programs in TV. I think we all know about some recent duty of care and welfare issues that have come out in our own industry, and I think that it's naive of us to think that that's not going to just continue, and it is something that we need to think about. And these are sort of amazing TV values that we need to find a way to bring into digital with a lot less money. So essentially, every penny matters in digital. Every penny matters. And what do we do about this? I've just mentioned a whole bunch of very bleak things. How do we, continue to make amazing content? That's why we're all in this room. It's why we all do what we do. But how do we do it on the money that we have and make a margin? Because ultimately, I'm sure there's lots of indies in here, and we all are businesses that need to survive. So for us at Strongwatch Studios, and it's something that I really believe in, is that the money chat is the creative chat. It's one and the same. We're not in a place anymore, I don't think, where the creative happens first and then we talk about how much money it is after. They have to happen at the same time. And if anything, the production has to inform how we do the creative, which is what I'll sort of talk through in a second. To give an example of this in very sort of literal terms, we recently at Strongwatch delivered a 3-part travel series with Babatunde. He was travelling around the island of Ireland. And we had an amazing series producer come on board from TV who's made tons of travel logs for linear TV. And he was surprised, and I hope impressed by how we managed to make this series on what was literally a very tiny fraction of the price. So I'm just going to share a clip from that series.
Where should I go? What should I see? What should I do? I'm Babatunde Aleshe.
So check this out.
Wow, I can do that. It's my first time visiting the island of Ireland. Oh, my days. And I'm trusting the locals to tell me where to go.
Horse riding there. Beautiful.
I've never done horse riding. To find those hidden gems.
Pop over to the Wild Alpaca Way is a must-see.
Whoa.
Do you like your sport?
I love sports. Wu-Tang. Bow. This is Where To Next. Stream now on Channel 4.
Yeah, so there is Babatunde with his alpacas. We had an amazing time on that trip, but yes, we did it for very little money. So, alongside the ideation and development phase, I have implemented a theory called the bang theory. So, really need to stay with me on this to understand where we're going. The bang theory is a method that we basically use every single time we receive a pitch, every time we receive an idea, every time we think we're going to be making something, not just for broadcasters and for brands, but also we apply this to our own content. So it splits down into 3 pillars: budget, analyse, necessity, and goal. The first slide, I mean, this is budgeting 101, so appreciate this is going to be very familiar to a lot of you, but this is kind of the starting point, I guess, when you're sort of looking at, you've got a brief in and you're looking, or you've got an idea, what money is on the table. So sometimes we will know what the tariff is for the broadcaster. Sometimes we know how much money the brand has available as well. Sometimes we don't, which is another sort of process to go through, but that's kind of obviously the starting point. As a production company, we also always need to think about the margin. So what is the desired margin for us as a business, but also what is a margin that is permissible by the broadcaster or the brand? What is the creative ask? Obviously, writing a budget for Inside or Locked In is a very different ask to writing a Snack Wars or a Minutes With type budget. So what's the creative ask and what will be the demands of that? What's the timeline? Again, I love a world where we have 3 months to make something. Often it's probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and obviously that has a big impact on the freelancers you might need, the staff you might need, and all the other infrastructure that you might need to make that video possible. And what are the deliverables? Again, sounds insanely obvious. You should start a project and you know where you're delivering it to. But again, I think because the beauty, and it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? The beauty of our industry is that you could do a shoot and create hundreds of pieces of content, but the limit does have to exist somewhere. So what are those deliverables, and kind of understanding that up front to know where you're going with it. And then this is my favourite part of the process, probably less so for the creatives that I'm working with, is analyse. And this is like when we're really pulling it apart. So we've got the idea and we kind of know where we want to go with it. But we want to be thinking about who is the production for. So obviously, if we're making something for Superdrug, they will have very different needs and wants for that piece of content versus Channel 4 or ITV. So it's thinking about that and how we need to shift the production in terms of not also how we shoot it. We can sometimes do iPhones, which is what we shot Shark Ninja on, but we would definitely not be doing iPhone content if we were making stuff for a broadcaster. How and where do we shoot? Again, this kind of, it's kind of obvious. A studio shoot, a location shoot, they're all going to be slightly different. But I think one of the other kind of things that feeds into this that the broadcasters are particularly hot on, and rightly so, is regionality. In terms of shooting outside of London, I think that, again, is challenging if you're a London-based indie and the budgets that we have available, but kind of thinking about that and what the repercussions of those costs might be. Employing the best staff in a lateral way. So we approach every production that we do by finding the best staff for that particular need. And when I say in a lateral way, I mean thinking about how you can kind of cross-pollinate their skill sets. Again, the TV hierarchy doesn't work for digital, but the skill sets do. So it's just finding what those skill sets are and applying them into what the need of that budget is and the need of that production. Set design and props, again, building Locked In or building Inside is a very different beast to building a smaller set. We made a digital series for the BBC recently called Ranked, and the set design was absolutely pivotal to the format, and so that was something that we were non-negotiable, had to spend money on. Talent, obviously goes without saying. Casting, again, I think if it's a casting job that is going to require quite a lot of in-depth chats. Is it a good casting brief? Is it more challenging? How's that going to affect the time? And I know everyone hates the word workflows, but sometimes there are just natural workflows that appear. So for Shark Ninja, for example, we have in place a very experienced food producer who worked at Twisted. We have an ex-Cosmopolitan producer who's doing the beauty side of things. And they are working alongside a very experienced branded production person who knows how to work a client, knows how to produce hundreds of deliverables, on top of another post producer whose bread and butter is to deliver hundreds of deliverables. And it was about, when we were putting that team together, it was about finding all of those individual skill sets and putting them together to deliver the best product for the client. And that kind of became a natural workflow because of those people that we'd brought into situ. I actually said Analyse was the one that the creatives hate the most. I actually think this might be. This is when we've sat down and we've written the budget and we are 50k over what we've got available. And this is when we go, and this is, well, when I go, what is essential? What is making this format absolutely bang? Is it the table? Is it the set design? Is it the talent? Is it the questions? Is it the game mechanics? What are those things that if you took that away, the format wouldn't exist? And actually, whilst this is a process to reduce the amount of money that we're spending, I actually think, well, we have found at Strongwatch Studios that you come out of it with a much better idea of what the format actually is, which, when you're trying to cut through on social, is, it needs to have a very central point, whatever that is, that will make the audience understand what they're seeing. And then through that process, we do inevitably cull some things, which can be quite an upsetting process. But I think, I hope my creators would agree that we come out with a better format in the end. And then finally, goal. And I guess this is something that we think about throughout the entire process, is what are you trying to achieve with this production? Is it margin? I think it's okay to say we're all businesses trying to survive, and sometimes it is about making a decent margin. That's okay, we can say that. Is it about reputation? Is it about relationship building, whether that's with a commissioner, whether that's with talent, whether that is with a particular platform? What's the creative goal? I think lots of different production companies or indies have a thing that they might be known for. Is this show going to feed what we're known for? Or is it going to start a new bit of what we're known for? And how do any of these decisions impact the execution? Obviously, if you want to go for a higher margin, you want to be thinking about doing things even more efficiently. But if you want to spend loads of money on a piece of talent and a set design, for example, because that's going to make that format pop, then again, that might impact the decision. So this is kind of a 4-step process that we go through while we're in the ideation phase, and it's something that we have found to be quite successful, I think. And then something that I am really personally passionate about, and I think that our industry is in a place where we will need to be starting to think about these things more and more, is instilling TV values into digital productions. So TV has, they have welfare protocols in place. They have sustainability protocols in place. That isn't something that the digital world is necessarily governed by, but I think more and more we are going to be seeing instances where these things need to be really carefully taken into consideration. So wherever possible, depending on the creative, I will sort of instill some of these things. If we're doing hard factual, for me, duty of care and a welfare protocol or support is kind of a non-negotiable. Sustainability, again, it can be inherently expensive, but adding a green memo to a call sheet and, only having vegetarian food might seem like it's not doing much, but at least there are some small steps to make that production more sustainable. And then just thinking about the freelancers, there are so many amazing producers, creatives, production people out there who have come from TV and are really struggling to find work. And we have found some of our best freelancers coming from the TV world. So just casting your net super wide when you're doing that recruitment process. And scheduling, which again is such a boring word, but ultimately does bear, it bears the brunt of a lot of this in terms of how quickly or not you need to be making a production. I've just realised I've got 1 minute left. This has gone insanely quickly. So I just wanted to share an example of where I think we have excelled in making the budget bang, which is on our YouTube channel, People Are Deep. So this is a channel that we have started from scratch 4 months ago, and we have managed to sustain a bi-weekly cadence. We are producing 2 long-form videos a week. And we have basically created a model whereby we are shooting across 3 days, 4 contributors a day, so that's 12 contributors in 3 days. And out of that, a 12-hour shoot day, we're producing 36 pieces of long form. And from those pieces of long form, we're making on average about 12 shorts, which basically produces 432 pieces of short form. And I think this is a model that we have now sort of implemented across 3 shoot bursts or batches. We kind of switch up the phrase, but is now we are now running the channel. We have had amazing growth in the past 4 months, And I can't obviously share the numbers, but the cost per asset is good. It's small. So that is me. I've got 16 seconds left, so that's probably some buffer to say, if you want to come and talk to me about budgets banging, please do. I'll be around all afternoon. And thank you so much for your time.